And good morning, Man Hour Nation. Welcome to live, raw, uncut NFL talk here on this Friday edition, February 16, 2024. Big shout out to my brother-in-law. Happy birthday to that man. You guys head over to manhourradio.com, NFLtoday.co. Check out the websites. Become a Pigskin Pundit. Click on the link below. We got the After Hours show. We got live footage breakdown. But we got Hogwash Friday. Hogwash Friday is going to include a little bit of Cliff Kingsbury. Going to include a little bit of Mike Zimmer. And, of course, a little bit of Stephen Wilks getting fired. But, guys, this is a live, raw, uncut, interactive show. Feel free to talk your shit in the comments below, but be ready to defend yourself. Defend yourself because we come no hold bars. No hold bars. Well, we got to welcome the man, the myth, the legend into the show. My man, a brother from another mother. Love you like a brother, F you like a sister. Mr. John Hoffman. What's up, Hoffy?
What is up, Michael Buckheister? What's up, Man Hour Nation? It's good to be back on the live, raw, uncut Man Hour radio show.
We are live, and we are raw, and we are uncut, Hoffy. But I caught myself last night, Hoffy, watching a little bit of women's college basketball. I caught myself last night watching the great Caitlin Clark. First of all, Hoffy, do you know who Caitlin Clark is?
Oh, yeah. I know who she is. The Iowa female specimen.
Yeah, well, she is now the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history, and she is definitely one of the most dominant players on the floor, Hoffy. Like, I love everything about this girl. I love watching her play. She currently makes around $1 million in NIL deals, and I got to thinking, what happens when she goes to the WNBA? Because we all know that the WNBA is a very low-profit organization, right? And I got to looking up the highest salary in the WNBA this year, Hoffy, $250,000. So Caitlin Clark's going to go from making $1 million in NIL deals to making $250,000 in WNBA salary. Granted, that's not going to say that she's not going to lose her deals per se, but isn't that like the ultimate smack in the face? Like, hey, stay in college, you can make millions of dollars, go pro, make this your job, $250K.
Yeah, I mean, Brittany Griner ended up getting arrested because of this exact situation. You know, a lot of these players go overseas and play during the off season in Russia and, you know, Japan, all these other different countries where they make more money playing, you know, basketball than they do in the U.S. For the Women's National Basketball Association, which I find kind of funny.
Well, if you want to get into the Brittany Griner thing, she did not get arrested for playing basketball. She got arrested for trying to do drugs in Russia. Like that was just stupid.
Okay, she was going to Russia to fulfill her basketball obligations for her Russian basketball team.
Okay. Nonetheless, Caitlin Clark is the all-time leading scorer now. I caught myself very captive watching her, and I was very, very intrigued by that whole situation. But it is time to get into some live, raw, uncut NFL talk. Cue that intro. Are you ready for the best damn NFL show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Yeah, hey, let's go. Hitting that gridiron, we going hard, we running the plays. You know the vibe, only the strong survive. Gotta keep your head in the game. Talking NFL, uncut, straight raw. Steady bringing that sauce. We about to take off. Get it hype, this man, our sport talk. Yeah, from the quarterback to the lineman. Everybody bringing heat. You don't really want to try them. Hey, who gon' win? It's a battle of the giants. This show is the flyest. Nobody can deny it. This is Man Hour. Sport Talk. Man Hour. Sport Talk. What team you reppin'? We keep it interesting.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Michael Buckhouse here with the Man Hour. Resort to manhourradio.com. Check out the blog section, check the merchandise section. And of course, guys, this is a live interactive show. So feel free to talk your shit in the comments below, but be ready to defend yourself, because I am in trolling mode 100% today. But let's go ahead and welcome some people over here into the comments here. We got my man, Wayne G, in the chat, and he says, women's college hoops, great ball movement, awful athletes. Terrible athletes, he says. Women just aren't built like boys are. I mean, can we say that? Can we say that? It is what it is. Jim Powell says she'll have to take a pay cut. If you want to be professional, says Jim, take that pay cut. Hey, Caitlin, come over to the Indiana Fever. I will support you. I will buy your jersey. I will try to go as many home games as I can. It's about an hour drive, hour and a half drive. My wife would love it. The kids would love it. As long as you give me an autograph, I'll be happy to be there 100%. Wayne G also says, if the ladies want more money, sell more tickets. 1,500 people per game. You're lucky to make $250,000. Actually, Wayne G, I saw a podcast. I think it was with Brittany Griner and some other NBA players, and they're like, we don't want more money, we just want more profit sharing, yada yada yada. And the host is like, well, you make like 20% profit sharing versus the NBA makes like 5%. If you want to make the same as the NBA, here's your 5% profit sharing and you're like your $6,000 check. So it's definitely a double-edged sword. The NBA does support the WNBA by giving them a lot of money, but it is what it is. And Jim says, if women want to make more money in sports, all they have to do is be a quarterback for Denver. $250 million not being able to throw the ball either. That is facts. 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 But we got my man Hoffy in the chat. Hoffy, man, you've had a couple days off. We've gone through Valentine's Day here. And first things first, how was your Valentine's Day, man?
It was good. I got my wife, her car detailed for her. She's been asking for that for, seems like maybe 2 years now, but she was a happy lady, and that's all that counts on Valentine's Day. Yeah,
there's a stomach bug going around the Buckcuster household, so it's coming out both ends. So kids have got it, the wife's got it. I don't got it yet, but I am sure it is coming, and I am not looking forward to it at all. We do got David in the chat. He says Chargers in the house, and Wayne G says, Huff, you've been off for a couple of days. I didn't even notice. Pew pew, pew pew. But guys, it is Hogwash Wednesday, and we got a new segment here, and it is called Hogwash Wednesday. We are going to determine if the statement is hogwash or if it's valid. Is it a valid statement or is it completely hogwash? But we have to start with the title segment of today's show, and that is Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks was officially fired by the San Francisco 49ers just 48 hours after the Super Bowl, maybe more like 72 hours. But Coach Kyle Shanahan said directly after the Super Bowl that I don't see any imminent coaching changes happening. 48 hours later, bam, bada bing, bada boom, Steve Wilks is gone. So let's give you a brief history of Steve Wilks' coaching career. He did start off in the college ranked at Savannah State, went 5-6 his first year, but then 2006 he did make the way over into the NFL, became the Bears defensive or the DB's coach. In 2009 he did make a lateral move to the Chargers. Riverboat Ron was there. He wanted to coach underneath Riverboat Ron, so he was still a defensive backs coach over there at Chargers. In 2012, he did follow Riverboat Ron to Carolina. 2015, he was promoted to assistant coach and was a runner-up for defensive back coach of the year. 2018, he was hired as a Cardinals offensive head coach. He did go 3-13. That was the year that they drafted Josh Rosen and Steve Wilks at the same time both got cut after 1 year. He did end up at the Browns defensive coordinator 2019, 2020. 2021, he did go back to Missouri to become their defensive coordinator. 2022, he went back to Carolina to become the DB coach, also served as intern head coach that particular year, and he did go 6-6 after obviously the firing of old Peterson there. Last season, he did go to the 49ers to become their defensive coordinator. So just to add to some context of what has been happening, right? After the Super Bowl loss, many players come out and said that Steve Wilks did not have them prepared to play the game. It's been very, very suspect game planning all playoff long. Nick Bosa said, and I quote, "There was no read option scouting info. When you play Patrick Mahomes, you have to expect him to run the ball and run that read options." Also, several times in that Super Bowl, Steve Wilks was showing all-out blitzes. We all know Patrick Mahomes thrives on all-out blitzes. There was also times when you pointed out that, Steve Wilks had 5 guys 10 yards down the field, basically looking to dunk and dink underneath. At that particular time, Kyle Shanahan did call a timeout, said, "I don't want to see that no more." So, Hoffy, you as a 49ers fan, when it's convenient, when they're winning, are you surprised that Steve Wilks is out of San Francisco?
Yes and no. I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head towards the end there with the 5-man defensive backs in the backfield, the all-out blitzes. But when it comes to, the option and not stopping that run option, you as a Chiefs fan, how often do the Chiefs actually put Patrick Mahomes in harm's way and run the option?
I could only see it a couple times, and it was usually on very, very large downs, 4th and 1, 3rd and 1 type situations.
So to say that just shows how smart Bosa is. Guy's just a brute force, and that's all. I mean, was Wilks the one that was running 5 yards past Patrick Mahomes and forcing him up and allowing him those run lanes? Was Wilks the reason why Greenlaw got hurt? I mean, at the start of that game, they were running around like maniacs. That defense was on point. Yes, I feel like they got away from that game plan. But they only gave up 19 points in regulation. So I mean, to hold that Chiefs team to 19 points in regulation, especially in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs where Patrick Mahomes is at his best, I understand that this was an off year for the offense, but that offense over the playoffs was really starting to click. But let's be honest. I mean, I think a lot of the blame should fall on Kyle Shanahan. Wilks was not the reason why they stopped running the ball in the second quarter. I thought Wilks and the defense played pretty well outside of some of that questionable play call. So somebody needed to take the fall here. We all know it's not going to be Kyle Shanahan, even though it should be. So next man up turns out to be Wilks.
Yeah, that is one of the advantages of being a head coach is you get to point the blame on other people and fire said people until you have nobody else left to fire. But when I first read this and when Kyle Shanahan said that, hey, every coach is safe, whatever, like I really haven't thought too much into it, that kind of seemed to me like the writing was already on the wall. That kind of seemed to me like there was going to be some defensive changes. He just needed some type of validation from the general manager, maybe from Clint Kubiak. He needed some type of validation saying, yes, we want Steve Wilks out at the end of the day. And I got to reading more information. I started trolling Twitter. I started jumping on San Francisco 49ers fan boards, and many of the, quote, insiders for the San Francisco 49ers said that there's been a lot of fighting between Steve Wilks and Kyle Shanahan all season long. There has been a lot of conflict of interest, or not conflict of interest, but different theories of how a defense should be ran. Obviously, the San Francisco 49ers have one of the most dominant front sevens in all of NFL football. Steve Wilks was a defensive back coach since 2016 up until 2018 when he got his first head coaching job, and then he went back to the DB coaching. So obviously DB is like in his blood, and he wanted the DBs to thrive, but Kyle Shanahan saw it other ways. And if you guys haven't noticed, there's a big family affair in San Francisco, right? Kyle Shanahan brings in CMC, the dads play together, coach together, whatever. Clint Kubiak, his dad was the coach at San Francisco. It is a big, big family affair at the end. So at the end of the day, I am not surprised that Steve Wilks was fired. I am surprised that it took so long for him to get fired. But let's go ahead and jump back into the chat here. Jim says Chargers can't be in the house. Chargers fans are all AI. My man Drew's in the chat. Drew's a pigskin pundit. Click on the link, guys, below, and you get a nice little badge. You become a subscriber. Drew and Jim and Chase are all pigskin pundits. So, guys, welcome to Pigskin Pundits. He says Chiefs Kingdom, all love. John People says good morning. Josh Brown, new name here. What's up, Josh? Welcome to the show. He says Wilks couldn't get the job done, so he had to go. Hoffy, you mentioned something that was Steve Wilks the one running 5 yards up the field? Was Steve Wilks the one not running the ball? I was actually listening to Wayne G's show. Was it Wednesday, right? And Steve Young come out and said basically how you beat Patrick Mahomes is keep him under 20 points. And Wayne G threw out a stat, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Wayne, but Patrick Mahomes is 4-14 when his team scores underneath 20 points. You said it yourself, Hoffy. They held him to under 19. They held him to 19 points, which is underneath 20 points in regulation. So, do you agree with Josh Brown here at all that Wilks couldn't get the job done?
I don't think necessarily he couldn't get the job done. I think, again, it falls a lot on Shanahan. I mean, a lot of the players have come out and said they didn't even know the overtime rules, whereas the Chiefs players have come out and said that they've talked about that like 2 times a day for the past 2 weeks. This was something that we kind of harped on when the Raiders coach was having, issues at the beginning of the year, not kind of knowing the rules, and we kind of, beat up on him. But, the biggest game of the year, and you potentially haven't spoken to your team about the new rules, or, I mean, I, as a high school coach, every year have to go to a seminar where you learn the new rules, and, they teach all that, all that stuff, and, learn new things and whatnot. So I find that to be inexcusable. But, that being said, add into it their third round pick, who we've, shit on all year. Moody missed an extra point.
Yep.
That's not to say, though, I honestly think that at the end of that game, when the Chiefs got the field goal to tie it, if it was a 4-point game at that time, I still think the Chiefs would have gotten the touchdown. I don't think they were stopping Mahomes. So they would have got more than 19 points at that time. But I think it more falls down on, like you said, just the communication between the head coach, the defensive coordinator, as well as, there's been some button of the heads, which is why, I think it was Casey Morgan said it best when Shanahan had to call that timeout and say, hey, this is not how we're going to run our defense. I think the writing was on the wall at that point.
And how dare you take my thunder? Because I thought Casey Morgan, 18 minutes into the show, had the comment of the day. And Casey does say, when they had to call that timeout to fix the defense, that was a moment that told you he was going to get fired. When we look at that moment, Casey, actually, Hoffy, wasn't he running that defense like the whole fourth quarter? It seemed like kind of like a prevent type of thing. Like,
yep, which you've talked about it, religiously on the show. You do not like and do not even have that play call in your playbook.
Yeah, prevents you to win the games. Let's jump back over here in the chat. Wayne G says, I've seen people calling for Vrabel to San Francisco. He has 1 year as DC, 2017 for the Texans, and he had the worst defense in the NFL. Hoffy, there are some notable coaches out there that are still, quote, free agents. You have Bill Belichick. You have a Pete Carroll. You have a Mike Vrabel. Do you potentially see Mike Vrabel becoming a defensive coordinator at San Francisco, or is it going to be somebody like a Clint Kubiak, which is the defensive line coach that has, history with Kyle Shanahan and the rest of the team out there? Do you, as let's put your 49er GM hat on here, Hoffy, do you promote within, Kyle Shanahan's defensive ways? Clint Kubiak knows what Kyle Shanahan wants to do, or do you bring in somebody that used to be a head coach, like a Mike Vrabel, and let him run your defense?
I could see them bringing in a Mike Vrabel just to, I understand where Wayne G's coming out with, he had the worst defense, but it was also the Texans. One of the Texans been relevant. I believe that might have been the first year they did not have Watt, or that might have been the last year that they had Watt. But I could see them bringing in Vrabel just because his attitude could line up pretty well with, that front seven, and hopefully he can kind of light the fire under the defensive backs. But I think that what they'll do is they'll promote from within. I think we'll see Kubiak probably take over. But another two names that I think they should look at, and I would look at, is the former defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, and then the gentleman that was the defensive coordinator for the New York Giants this year.
You see, you acting like the Texans have not been very, very good. I believe the following season in 2018, they did play the Kansas City Chiefs in the wild card game with Deshaun Watson, if I'm not mistaken. So the Texans have really not been a dumpster fire forever, ever since just the Hookers decided to come around. But I did not know that, first of all, Mike Vrabel was the defensive coordinator for the Texans in 2017, and it's hard for me to imagine they had the worst defense. Because wasn't that the year that they drafted Jadeveon Clowney? I feel like the Texans have always kind of had a good defense, but damn, I did not realize that they had the worst. That is tough for me to swallow. David said Hoffy nailed it. Hoffy nailed it, David. You are the biggest Hoffy fan I know, so keep it up, keep it up. John says Shanahan is the coach. He does bear the responsibility. John, as a manager, as a head coach, it is my responsibility to put people around me that think like I think and perform the way I want them to perform. So it is my responsibility to fire said person when I feel like they're not doing a very good job. So if that's the responsibility that you're referring to, that Kyle Shanahan does bear that responsibility, yeah. He bear the responsibility saying that, you know what, this guy isn't my guy. I'm going to get him out of town. I don't care if... Hoffy, let me ask you this question, because I think I know where I would go with this, but let's say the roles have reversed. Let's say the San Francisco 49ers actually did win that Super Bowl. Do you think Steve Wilks has a job still?
No, I think they still would have let him go with that defense that he was running. I think Kyle Shanahan was quite pissed off about that. So I think even if they ended up, winning the game in overtime, Casey Morgan's got the writing on the wall. As soon as that timeout was called, I think that was his fate was sealed at that point. He probably didn't even have a flight back home on the team plane.
Well, at least he was in Vegas, so there's a lot of people to take care of him, per se. Jim also says Shanahan is the issue. Shanahan is the issue and will be until he is gone from San Francisco. What issue are we talking about, Jim? Are we talking about the issue of just getting to the championship, just being good enough but can never seal the deal? Is that the issue that we're referring to? Hoffy, what do you think? What do you think the issue is that he is referring to?
I mean, if you have a team, I don't care if it's the first quarter, the fourth quarter. If you are ever up 28-3, you should not lose that game. You've had 2 Super Bowl appearances where you've been up by 10 points and you've lost both of those games. This was the first year that they, trailed by, what was it, more than like 5 points in the fourth quarter or something and won a game. I mean, you nipped that one in the butt, not being able to come from behind. But, I mean, you got to be able to play with the lead. And, I mean, you have the best running back, most versatile running back in the NFL. You're up by 10 points, run the damn ball. Control the clock, and I don't think they did a good job of that at all. I get that you lost Greenlaw. That really takes the wind out of the sails, but, losing that game, I think, is inexcusable. And it seemed like he did not have the team prepared for all aspects of that game.
Yeah, and many people are coming out, Nick Bosa including, saying that he did not have the team prepared in said situation. Wayne G says, I would look at a guy like Chuck Smith, Ravens linebacking coach, or Denzel Martin, the linebacker coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both very, very good candidates. And guys, think about this. We all kind of thought like the coaching carousel was kind of set in place, right? There was going to be no more changes, right? The head coaches were hired. They were filling in their staffs. They were doing this. They were doing that. We weren't expecting any changes from the Chiefs or the 49ers, right? This throws a wrench in everything. When I say it throws a wrench in everything, you are going to have to hire a defensive coordinator. Whether it's promoted from within or not, there is going to be a hiring of a defensive coordinator. Therefore, there's going to be another position that comes open. And then at that particular point, does a defensive coordinator like Steve Spagnuolo from the Kansas City Chiefs, does he make a lateral move somewhere? Does a potential head coaching job come open then? There is so many what-if opportunities right now, and these next few weeks right before the draft here, the combine starts the 28th, so we got like 10 days before the combine starts. You are going to want your staff, you are going to want your people in place there. So there's going to be a lot of movement happening the next couple weeks. Hoffy, yesterday I spoke on Steve Spagnuolo not getting any head coaching interviews or opportunities or even being linked to anything. Is there a possibility that maybe, just maybe, the San Francisco say, hey, Steve Spagnuolo, come on over to San Francisco. We can put you as the head coach in waiting. If Kyle Shanahan can't do it next year, you are our guy. If you are a Steve Spagnuolo, would you take a lateral move like, say, Eric Bieniemy did to the Commanders?
I could see him doing that. Just it seems like that's probably the only way he is going to get a head coach position at this time is Eric Bieniemy and show that it's not just Andy Reid. But I think what he did this year was pretty special. I think if he duplicates that again next year with the Chiefs, he'll find himself in position to have a head coach position. But I don't think that he is head coach material. I mean, what's his overall? I mean, he's kind of getting up there in age as well. He's 64 years old.
Yeah, I believe so.
He's 11-41 as a head coach.
Yeah.
So I think that really hurts him. But yeah, if I'm the 49ers, I'd absolutely make that call and see if he wants to jump ship, because I think that would be first off, you're hurting probably one of your, I get that they're in different conferences, but you're putting a dent in a team that's giving you troubles and a team that you could very well see in the Super Bowl, whether you get there next year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. So, yeah, why not put a chink in the armor? And it's also gonna help your defense as, personally, as well as now he goes up against that offense every day in practice. So, um, you know, he could potentially be the kryptonite to Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah, very,
as he
very,
was to Tom Brady.
very, very true. Very, very true. So let's go ahead and jump here in the last comment in the chat here. And David says, Vegas. We're in Vegas. Who needs a flight home? The Bunny Ranch, baby. Very, very true. The Bunny Ranch is a real thing in there, Las Vegas. But guys, it is time to get into a new segment here. Let's get some music here. Let's get some music flowing here. And this is a new segment that we're going to introduce today here on this Friday edition, February 16th, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. East Coast time. It is called Valid or Hogwash. So we are going to put out a statement out the like out there, and we are going to determine yeah, it's valid. Yeah, I think this is going to happen. Or if it's a complete hogwash. It is completely stupid. It's completely asinine. It's get that out of here. Hoffy, you are not hogwash. You are very, very valid. But are you ready to play a little bit of valid or hogwash?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh, all right, guys. This is a live interactive show, guys. So be sure to play down in the comments below. Determine whether the comment is valid or if it's hogwash. But let's start off with offensive coordinator situation here. The Atlanta Falcons' new offensive coordinator, Zach Robertson, says that all quarterback options are on the table. Falcons are currently sitting at number 8 in the overall pick in the 2024 draft. However, Zach Robertson has worked with quarterbacks such as Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, and, oh, by the way, free agent Baker freaking Mayfield. We have all heard the hot mic by now, but between Steve Young and Baker Mayfield, saying that there's a lot of weapons / history with some team. We don't know what team he was referring to. Many people say it was the Buccaneers. Many people think it's some other team. But Hoffy, let me ask you this question first. Is it valid or is it hogwash to think that the Falcons will make a push for Baker Mayfield?
I think it's valid. I think that your 3 quarterbacks, the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft are going to be, you're going to have Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Caleb Williams. I think that they're all going to go 1, 2, 3. I don't know that the Falcons are going to want to give up the capital to get up to one of those 3 spots. So I think they are going to have to fill their quarterback position through either a trade or free agent signing. So, yeah, I could see them making a push for Baker Mayfield. I could see them going after somebody like Kirk Cousins. I do think Kirk Cousins will probably be, I think he wants to stay in Minnesota. I think that's where he'll be. But I think they're going to have to fill it from within or trade such as, Justin Fields, because I think that there's no way around the Chicago Bears drafting Caleb Williams. So I think, I think it's either going to be Justin Fields, or I could see them making a push for Baker Mayfield and not having to give up any capital to trade for Fields.
Yeah, and when I first saw this question, or I was thinking about this question, I'm like, Baker Mayfield is going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's no doubt about it. He is going back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Mike Evans, with Chris Godwin, with a pretty good defense. But then I got to thinking, man, the Atlanta Falcons have a lot of pieces there. They have a running back by the name of Bijan Robinson, what they drafted 10th overall last season. They have a very good tight end in Kyle Pitts. Their receiving core is pretty stout as well. Offensive line, probably top 15, top 12 in the NFL. When I see Zach Robinson has already worked with quarterback Baker Mayfield in the past, and he says there are no options off the table. Guys, Baker Mayfield to the Atlanta Falcons makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Baker Mayfield has now led 2 teams to the playoffs. The Cleveland Browns which nobody thought they could ever break that curse whatsoever. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everybody had them written off this season. Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield proved that he is the man, the myth, the legend. He is a damn good, gritty quarterback. Baker Mayfield wants to kind of get that deal, kind of wants to get that bag. Now, I don't think he's going to be the highest paid quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but a nice $30-35 million contract is not out of reach. And oh, by the way, the Falcons have a lot of salary cap room to play with. Zach Robinson and Baker Mayfield and that new front office, head coaching in general for the Atlanta Falcons is what they need. Bring in your guy. Bring in a quarterback you want. I don't like a trade for Justin Fields. I do not like it. I do not want to give up a second-round pick. I don't want to give up a third-round pick. I don't want it. Because Justin Fields is relatively unproven, Hoffy. Justin Fields has 41 turnovers in 40 games. Baker Mayfield has at least been to the playoffs. He's won a playoff game. He knows what it takes. He has that grit. He has that about him. Plus, he's still young. Baker Mayfield to the Atlanta Falcons makes perfect freaking sense. Hoffy, any follow-up?
No, I agree with you 100%. I think that with those weapons and everything, I don't think Baker Mayfield is the greatest quarterback when it comes to not having weapons around him. But when he has weapons around him, I think he can be considered a top quarterback. And I mean, having a running back like Robinson, you said it, tight end and Pitts, maybe get him a wide receiver that can, on the outside. But yeah, I think that the Atlanta Falcons have the pieces in place for someone like Baker Mayfield to be successful if they're able to sign him.
Yeah, and they are sitting at number 8 in this year's draft. Everybody expects three quarterbacks to go 1, 2, 3. So it would not be a stretch or a reach if they could move up to number 4, if not number 5, to get a Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. That would be amazing. Let's jump into
and there's even the Rome Dunes out of Washington. I mean, I think he's going to be. I think the mock drafts have him going at like number 6, so he could potentially fall down, or you could move up, 2 spots and get him as well.
Yeah, very, very, very true. But let's go ahead and jump over into the chat here. Timothy Nicola says they should draft a quarterback. They should draft a quarterback. Hoffy, obviously, I think the quarterback situation in this year's draft is very, very deep, right? You have Jalen Daniels. You have a Michael Penix Jr., you have a Bo Nix, obviously a Caleb Williams as well. There are like 8, 9, 10 guys that potentially could be franchise quarterbacks, meaning like they could be your guy for a long, long time. Do you want to waste an 8th overall pick? I mean, not waste, but like use your 8th overall pick to draft a quarterback that you don't know if he's going to be a boom or bust on a team that's kind of built to win right now. Kyle Pitts is entering his 5th year of his deal. B. John Robinson, the 2nd year of his deal. Very, very young team, kind of a win right now team. Do you use your draft pick at number 8 to draft a quarterback, or do you go free agent? Like, if you had the choice, what would you do?
I mean, the only quarterback that I would take with the number 8th pick is Nix, but I feel like that's still a little high as far as his draft capital. So if you want to move back, and pick up some more draft capital, I'm not going to be upset with that. But I think the only 3 quarterbacks in this draft that are absolute, not misses, which I think Drake May could be special, but I also think he could be a Zach Wilson. But I think that you got to look at Caleb Williams, whoever's in that 2 spot, whether it's the Commanders or whether they trade back. I hope they draft May and they leave Jaden Daniels at number 3 for the Patriots. But those are the only 3 that I think are going to be potentially absolutely not, can't miss special players. I could see Bo Nix turning into somebody like his protege as far as what they have over there well, now the Los Angeles Chargers. I was going to say San Diego, but I don't know. Like you said, I mean, they're in a win now kind of window. I don't know if you want to draft a quarterback at that 8 spot unless you can move back, pick up something, as well as get a Bo Nix as well.
Yeah, this year's draft is very, very heavy in quarterbacks. I believe it was solely on Wayne G's show. The NFL experts had like 10 quarterbacks that could go in like the top 5 round picks. So you don't have to necessarily draft a quarterback at number 8 if you want to draft a quarterback, but just understand that there's free agents out there that could make you some money. And Jim said it the best. Gardner Minshew. Every team needs a Minshew, period. I'm not for sure if the Colts move on from Gardner Minshew, to be honest. He did well in the absence of Anthony Richardson. Yeah. And I think Gardner Minshew will be signing some type of deal with it. Timothy says Bo Nix. He wants a little bit of Bo Nix. See, Hoffy, I'm not sold on Bo Nix. Isn't he like 30 years old? Like he's an old head. Like he's been in college for like 7 years. Like, do you like Bo Nix at all, Hoffy? Like, do you potentially can see him making like? I feel like if Bo Nix is drafted in the first round, let's say he's the 3rd quarterback taken off the board, 4th quarterback taken off the board, he's going to have the bus label written all over him. What are your thoughts on
that? He's 23. I could see him. His ceiling, I think, is Justin Herbert, which Justin Herbert's by no means a bad quarterback, but we haven't seen if can Justin Herbert get it done, or is Justin Herbert just a big flashy arm that can, put up some big numbers and that's really what you're going to get out of him. And I kind of feel like that's what you're going to get out of Bo Nix. I quite frank, and it's not proven on whether Caleb Williams is a dog, but if I'm spending a top 10 pick, I want an absolute, you're not going to miss on this guy, and he's a dog. I mean, people say that Drake May, his family, they're all just physical specimens. He's got that mentality, but is he gonna, is it gonna, translate to the field? I think Jaden Daniels is a stud, and he's got that, it factor. So I think those 3 are worth the top 5 picks. I think Bo Nix could be had outside of the top 10. So yeah, if you want Nix, I think you trade back, get some more draft capital, and hope that he's there for you. But I'm not a NFL scout, so that's not my job, thankfully.
Well, yeah, they get paid a lot of money. But let's go ahead and jump back over here into the chat here. Timothy says, if you gave Fields what Baker had, I think he is trying to say here with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, he'd be dangerous too. The point is Justin Field had those weapons. Who was the receiver that the Bears got this year? Was it
Moore?
Who was
DJ
that?
Moore.
Yeah, so they got DJ Moore, and he looked really good the first game, but then after that, like,
I just have Cole Kmet. I mean,
I just don't think
they've got weapons. I mean,
they have weapons, but they don't know how to use them. Yeah.
Falls on that coaching staff too. I mean, they don't know how to develop a quarterback.
Drew over here at youtube.com/manhour says, if the Bucks do not resign Baker, Atlanta makes perfect sense. He's tough, he's a good quarterback, and a hell of a leader. Facts, Drew. Facts. Casey Morgan's in the chat says, personally, would hit QB in free agency and use number 8 as a receiver or a running back. Well, if the Falcons draft a running back at number 8, that was the dumbest thing that they could possibly do, because they have Bijan Robinson that drafted at 10 last year. We all, like, me, Combs, and Fitz were live in Chicago when that pick came in. I'm like, that is the stupidest pick ever. You never draft a running back in the first round, and then 2 picks later, What do the Lions do? They draft Gibbs. So if the Falcons do not draft a quarterback at number 8, they should definitely go wide receiver. Definitely go wide receiver. John says it's hogwash. No Baker to Atlanta. Hogwash.
That's because he wants Baker to the Raiders.
Probably. Everybody wants to go to the Raiders, right? Justin Jefferson, bring in Jamar Chase, bring in everybody. Dak. Oh, man. Jim says we should all just wait and see what Merrill Hodge has to say. So, Huffy, you weren't here yesterday, but Merrill Hodge has been the Greek god of all mock drafts, right? He has nailed on 6 guys, so people are putting him up on this pedestal saying he is, oh, holla, mock draft god. So it is what it is. Casey, let's go ahead and jump over in the chat here. Casey says Fields needs an old line and decent weapons. He could go to the postseason. Casey, are you sure you're not my man BC Combs? Because Hoffy, were you on when Brandon said Justin Fields to the Falcons, to the Chargers, basically anywhere but Chicago, he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback?
Yes, I believe I was part of that.
Yeah. Casey, are you sure your name's not Brandon? I'm not trying to say that Justin Fields is a bad quarterback. I can't exactly
see the picture, but he looks like Combs.
Like
maybe he's one of Combs' 7 kids.
Let's not go there. He doesn't even know who all 7 of his kids are. But no, I'm kidding. But Justin Fields is not a bad quarterback. If I had to choose between Baker Mayfield and Justin Fields, I'm going to say give me Baker Mayfield, because I think Baker Mayfield, you know what you're going to get. We've seen his ceiling. We've seen his floor. Justin Fields' floor is a lot lower than Baker Mayfield, but his ceiling's a hell of a lot higher, probably. But I want a consistent quarterback. I want a quarterback that is going to give me the, right, game in and game out.
Casey knows Brandon in real life, apparently.
Combsy.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, we're sorry. We all love Combsy. But let's move on. Move on to the next hogwash or valid statement of the day. Commanders have their new offense coordinator by the name of Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury used to be a offensive coordinator over at USC. The Commanders currently have the 2nd overall pick, with the Bears sitting at number 1. Cliff Kingsbury did coach Caleb Williams at USC. So, Hoffy, we got to ask the question. Is it valid or is it hogwash that the Commanders could move up to number 1 to get Caleb Williams?
No, I think the Bears are going to stand pretty pat on drafting him unless they get an absolute overhaul. I don't know if I'm the Bears that I want to. I just don't think that when a quarterback is one of your needs per se. I know they have Justin Fields, but he's proven, whether it's him or whether it's the organization, it's kind of a proven fact that he's not the guy, whether it's not the guy for Chicago or just not that guy, period. But I think that Caleb Williams is a potential generation talent that you just can't pass up on. So I think that they have to draft him. I think that the Commanders are going to be, in that position to have either Drake May, Jaden Daniels. I don't know if you really want to give up capital when there's those 2 right there behind Caleb Williams. And there has been some question marks on Caleb Williams and whether or not he's that guy per se. So I think that the Commanders should just stay pat and pick whichever one of those 3 guys, or whichever 2 is there when they're picked at number 2, because one of those 3 is going number 1. If you can pick between Jaden Daniels and Caleb May, I think that's not a bad position to be in as well.
Yeah, so guys, we all know the history, the track record of Chicago Bears and drafting quarterbacks in general. They traded up to number 2 to get Mitchell Trubisky, just 6 years ago. No longer on the roster. The Chicago Bears have never had a quarterback pass over 4,000 yards. So the Commanders are in a perfect situation. If you want said quarterback, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., Jalen Daniels, whoever you want, and you don't know who is better, let the Chicago Bears pick in front of you. Let them draft a Caleb Williams. Then we know he is going to be a bust, and then you draft your next guy on the like on the board. It is complete hogwash that the Commanders should move up to number 1. There should be no reason why they move up to number 1 to draft Caleb Williams whatsoever. Drake May has a better future ahead of him, I think, in the NFL than Caleb Williams. I think Jaden Daniels has a better future than Caleb Williams. Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. I think Caleb Williams is just going to be a really good quarterback. Not going to be anything special. He's going to be a good quarterback, but you do not give the keys to the kingdom to move up one spot when a franchise quarterback can be sitting at number 2 or number 3 or number 8. Cliff Kingsbury doesn't have any say in it whatsoever, to be honest. Dan Quinn has the say, and if Dan Quinn wants to move up to number 1, Dan Quinn will be fired by week number 8. Dan Quinn will be out of town if it's a bust. Let's jump over into the chat here. Timothy says, I wonder why they all want him to go to the Raiders. It's called homerness. Timothy, John, Jim, whoever else is out there. Raiders have a big fan base, and they're just very, very toxic because, anal right there. Sorry, Raiders Nation for life. My bad. Casey says, I don't know if it was because of the commercials or just the hype over the years, but I cannot stand Baker. Hoffy, I feel like Baker Mayfield, many people have this kind of love-hate relationship for Baker Mayfield. Either you love the guy or you hate him. I loved Baker when he was at Oklahoma and he went to a pregame handshake to the Kansas Jayhawks and they refused to shake his hand. He's like, take that. Hoffy, do you love Baker or do you hate Baker?
Oh, yeah. I mean, another one, too, one of his special moments in college is taking the OU flag and just stabbing it right into the middle of the O at the 50-yard line at Ohio State after beating them. So I love me some Baker Mayfield. I love that, anyone that's going to, just play with that juice, play with that fire, talk that shit, use whatever you want to, throw at him for, fuel. So, yeah, I love when, I love that mentality per se, that dog that's in some people and, when they let it show.
Yeah. And he's getting ready to be a Papa Bear. So that even shows you more of a, right? Let's go ahead and jump back over into the chat here. Jim says Kingsbury is a punk. Change my mind. I don't think I can.
He's just mad because he, decided not to take the offensive coordinator position. So,
over at LA or Vegas. Yeah.
Yep.
Probably.
You either join them because you love them, or you're a freaking punk because you decided different.
One of us. Any more comments worth? Timothy says Brady's to the Raiders. Is it?
Yeah,
Brady
he's got to fix that franchise after he freaking cursed them.
Isn't he like half owner now or something? Or where did that ever?
No, the NFL nixed it because they thought that he was getting too sweet of a deal. He was underpaying.
Very, very true. Very, very true. But let's get into some Mike's thoughts.
And now Mike's thoughts.
This is the time of year, guys, where we start to see a lot of rankings come out. 2024 quarterback rankings, running back rankings, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The draft is 2 months away. The last Thursday of April, like April 28th, I believe it is. And at that particular point, you are going to see a lot of rankings come out. Top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 running backs, this, and this, right? Guys, of all those rankings out there, I'll be putting mine out there too, probably July, after I see some preseason work, after I see coaches and schemes start to come to fruition. But if anybody has a rookie in their top 10 or even on their rankings at all, that is null and void. You cannot rank rookies to have a good NFL season to do this. They are unproven. They have never played a snap in the NFL, and many people don't know how they're going to fit into the NFL at all. So when ESPN or the NFL experts or the Sports Mockery or whatever your guys are watching comes out with the top 10 list and it has Caleb Williams at number 3 quarterback, that list is valid. That list is stupid. You cannot have rookies in your top 10. It is stupid. You can't rank rookies. You cannot rank potential. Now, we can rank potential from Patrick Mahomes, from Dak Prescott, from Lamar Jackson, because we can look back at their NFL careers and say, yeah, you know, they added this piece, they added this. We think he can do this. Caleb Williams, we don't even know if he will play a NFL snap. Drake May, we don't know if he'll play more than 3 snaps in a season. At the end, it is what it is, and we don't know. So stop with the rookies as a top 10. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Hoffy, any thoughts on the top 10s?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think you can put a rookie in a top 10. You know, I think body of work is like the number one thing that goes into these top 10 lists. And, you know, the NFL game, the college football game, the speed, just the size, the mentality, just the knowledge, everything about the NFL game is so much more than what is the, you know, the college game. Half of these college players, you know, won't even see, you know, the CFL, never mind the NFL.
All right, guys. So that is going to be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the last show of the week. Happy Friday. Be sure to become a Pigskin Pundit, guys. Click on the link below. Support the show. We'll be doing some film reviews starting next week, the after show, and a bunch of other free merch out there as well. So become a Pigskin Pundit of the Man Hour Nation. Click on the link below. We'll see you guys Monday. And remember, ELE. Everybody love everybody. See you guys next week.